Hello friends, welcome back to the Scrapbooking 365 Days of Weather project. We are documenting the month of June. Let's get started and see how it all turned out. I've gone ahead here and I've cut all of my pieces. We are documenting June, and all of these photos have been double matted using white and New England ivy. I really like the look of that. Now we're going to start off with a 2x2 square, and I'm going to show you in a minute how I separate these out. I'm also bringing in the embellishments from the Hope and Kindness collection. I really like the craft, and it really matches the toffee that I have going on here on my page, because this month I'm in this zone. I'm in the avocados, a little bit of New England ivy, and of course some toffee. Now I am bringing back the months of the year stamp. I did stamp the sentiment with shortbread and Sundance, and I added a little bit of Sundance just at the bottom. The month of June was stamped in New England ivy, and I also brought back the shortbread and did a little bit of distressing all around the bracket, and I found that it just looked really nice and it completed that look. Now if you see here my little embellishments, I was doing a lot of splatters, and while my brush was out, my clear shimmer brush, I decided to add some color inside the flower part with Sundance, and I did bring in a little bit of avocado for the leaves, and I really like the way that that turned out and how it looked. It's really subtle. It's got a lot of shimmer, and you don't really see it here in the video, but trust me, it is really cute with all that shimmer. Now back to these little squares. Let me just clear out my photos here so that I don't damage them. I'm going to bring in my little Friskar, and I'm going to cut these in half on the 45 to create equilateral triangles. Now say that 3 times fast. So I'm going to cut them all, and this is how we are documenting our days. So you've got a little triangle that represent each of the days, and when I do cut them, I do actually put the day on the back side so I don't get lost in the process when I'm putting them down, and that seems to work really well for me. Now let's talk about my choice for my base pages. I did pick them from the mix-in paper pack, and it's the ones that are actually current right now from the July to September catalog. I really like the way that these looked. It's got that kind of distress look to them, but it's not too bold. So I'm going to bring in here a little bit of toffee ink, and I'm just going to do the direct to paper distressing, and I like doing that once in a while because it's very subtle, but it does add to the page. And you'll see here in a moment, I'm just going to show you a close-up. So you've got a little bit of distressing, but it's not done with a distressing tool. I like that look, and it kind of picks up on this like kind of watermark. Anyways, I really liked this paper. Now Janice did tell me that working with avocado is a little bit of a learning curve, so I took out one of my sanding blocks. These you can get at your local like nail salon. They work really well actually. So I'm going to distress each of the pieces only because my background is a little bit distressed, and I found that that avocado is a little bit hard to work with, and you have to remember that she was playing with that color a few months ago, and this is my first try at it. So when I look at it now, I really like the way that that's looking against the base page that I picked. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sand them all, and I'm going to lay them all here on the left side. Now let me show you a little trick on how to get these straight, because there's a little bit of a thickness of cardstock, and you might end up with an overhang. it shouldn't be, but you know, sometimes they're not exactly straight. So I thought, okay, let's try and find a simple solution to make sure that all of those little triangles lay flat and they don't overhang on your page. So I'm just taking my paper trimmer here and I'm going to draw a line at the 2-inch mark because that's the width of my triangle. So I'm just going to do a faint line. You're not going to see it in the video, but it is there. And then I'm going to mark off the center of that column if you want. Now, obviously, I could use just my Versamat, but I found that this was really, really helpful just to make sure that as I'm laying down my little triangle, that I'm staying square and I'm starting at the middle here, and I'm going to work my way up and work my way down. So if I have an overhang, it kind of is going to be the same. So let's try this out and we'll see how it turns out. Now back to sanding of these little triangles. Now your first incline is going to be to do it just the way I'm doing it right now. I'm just kind of flipping my little triangle on all 3 sides, but it kind of leaves a pattern. And if you like that, that's great. But I wasn't too thrilled about it when I was laying them all down. So go back into the center and just even out your sanding. It's not a big piece. It doesn't take long. And of course, if you like the intensity of the avocado color, you can just skip this altogether. But I really liked how it kind of matched with my base page. So see here as I'm laying down my first piece, I'm really using that cheat line, if you want, that I've marked on the left-hand side and the center line. And the trick here is to get the first 2 down nice and square, and then the rest should fall into place. But if you happen to have some overhang, it's not a big deal. You can really trim that off and no one's going to know. And ask me how I know that. You'll see once I'm all done. You can't really tell that I ran into a little bit of an issue. Not down here. Here I was perfect. Everything lined up. Everything was great. So I thought, okay, we're off to the races. I'm just going to make sure that my little triangles are nice and secure. And I'm just going to continue on at the top. And then for whatever reason, when I got to the top, I ended up with a little bit of an overhang. And I thought, oh, well, okay. I guess I was trying to avoid that. But you know what? It's like 1/8 of an inch, if that. I'm going to trim that off, and you're really not going to notice. So see for yourself. I cut that at the top, and you really can't tell. So all of my pieces are down, and I did bring in that extra border. I just felt that it needed a little bit of a separation between the triangles and the base page, and this is from my stash. I've had it for over a decade, and every once in a while it works perfectly with the layout that I'm working on. So this one was one of them. I've got a lot of craft and toffee color, and I really like the way that it just framed everything. Now here's another tip for you. This is the branding strip from this sheet, or these 2 sheets, I should say. So it's the mix-in from the July-September, and I really wanted to use it, but it really disappeared when I just dropped it on the page. So one quick fix is just to kind of mat it with a different color. So here I'm using, again, the toffee color. And I did go ahead and I did a little bit of distressing on that with the ink. And it also kind of completes my title. I'm going to cut that in half and I'm just going to run it across. And I really like the look of it. Like it really just anchors everything together. Now let's go back to the thin cuts that I use. I did use the stitched fancy bracket for my title right here. And that's the larger of the 2. And these leaves, again, this is in my stash. I really like this one. It pops into a few of my projects once in a while. They were all cut out of New England ivy. So these little ducks here, I'm pretty sure I took pictures of them back in January. And here are my sunflowers that I'm trying to grow, but I had to put a bit of cayenne pepper so that the chipmunks and squirrels weren't going to eat them. I was a master presenter at our convention, or annual convention. That was a lot of fun. And I did hide my journaling right in back of this photo right here. And here are a few flowers from my garden that grew in the month of June. And that sky was just fabulous on that evening walk. I really like the way that my smaller images were all clustered on this bracket, and I like the way we documented all of the days. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and don't forget to go check out Janice's video and see how she documented her month of June. I will catch you next month. Have yourself a fantastic day.